Genieve Burley, welcome to Driven. I'm so excited to have you here today. It is an absolute honor and privilege to have you here. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. I was looking forward to it ever since we talked about it. So it's an
Thank
honor for
you.
me.
Well, I just wanted to start off with just saying that you and I met in such an organic and a bit of a random way. I messaged you on social and, I'd been following you for several years and I essentially was just like, I think you're freaking amazing and I would love to connect with you. And I just want to say that the fact that you took the time out of your busy schedule and busy life to talk to a random person and you really helped me open up my eyes into areas in philanthropy that I could get into. And one of the first things that you asked me was, what can I do to help you? And that really, really stood out for me. So I just want to start off with that because there's so many people that aren't willing to do that. And I think it just really shows your love for people and your servant heart and really wanting to see other people shine. So
Thank
thank
you.
you.
And that is such a beautiful term, servant heart. Like, oh, that lands. And of course, I actually think of it almost the opposite way, is like what an honor that somebody would reach out to me and ask something from me. So I don't think I'm exemplary in any way by responding. I think you're so engaging, and the fact that you want to be in the community and help the community excites me.
Hmm. Thank you. Tell me about yourself. Who are you and what invigorates you?
Oh my gosh. Let's just have the hardest question to start off with. Who am I? This is what I'm really working on right now. Is like, obviously there's who am I? What does the ego say I am? And the ego says I'm a mother and a chiropractor and a fitness expert. I lead retreats. I very much feel that my role and my purpose, though, my soul is to help people in ways, and to help people find who they are, and to have sovereignty in their bodies and in their lives. So I feel like that's who I am. I feel like if we're all here for a purpose. And I think if I get close to my purpose, that is my purpose, is to be a quarterback for people to find out their purpose, and also that they are powerful in mind and body. What invigorates me is how lucky I am to be here, to live in Canada, to have been born into a family that was loving and supportive. And of course, I have had rocky spots, but I feel like what invigorates me is gratitude, actually, is that this life is all of the things, but we're given this miraculous shot at being here. And right now, that's what invigorates me, is a sunset or a sunrise. Just playing tennis with my friends. Everyone's like, "Oh, sorry, that was a bad shot." And I think we're outside playing tennis on a court in Vancouver on a beautiful summer night. What would you apologize for?
I really love what you said about gratitude and having that perspective, because I think when you really take those moments throughout your day to just be grateful for the things that you have, I think you do ultimately show up better in the world as a person, but also handle, different things that come up in your life, whether great or not so great. And
Yeah.
it's almost like a mindset reframe that you have. So I think that's so, so powerful. I really loved, what you said about who you are. And I really like to ask people what invigorates them, whether it be, interviewing people on this podcast or
Mhm.
just in life, because I think what's important is not what we do. What's important is who we are as a person
Yeah. What
and
lights us up?
what lights us up.
Mhm.
Exactly. So, yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. So, tell me a little bit about your kind of academic background. You've served as a chiro a doctor of chiropractic medicine for 18 years now, you said? I
Yeah,
remember.
almost. I graduated in 2005, so it's actually 19 now.
Wow. Okay. And then you went to school in Ontario. You went to
Yeah, I went to
Queen's.
Queens
Yeah.
and then I did chiropractic college at CMCC, which
Okay.
is there's two schools in Canada. One's in Quebec and it's entirely in French, which I could have done, but CMCC is a vibe, so I went there. But, it's interesting because if I think about my education, I was always like, never enough, never enough. Like, so there was this kind of unworthiness that I wasn't ready to go out in the world. And so I was always taking more courses. And then I did a master's of rehabilitation at UBC.
Hmm.
And then I didn't finish that because I ended up getting pregnant, not by accident, but it just is hard. It's hard to have a practice and raise a newborn and do a master's at the same time. And I was proud of myself when I decided not to complete it because I asked myself the question, are you getting this done out of like an unworthiness that you need to have this master's to think that you're good at your job or what you
Hmm.
do, or do you want to do it? And if I'm being honest, it was the infancy of this new program at UBC and it was utterly terrible. Every moment of it I hated. So I just said, no, I'm not going to do it because I want the paper saying I completed the master's. I would like to go back to school and do something when it's something that invigorates me or I
Hmm.
enjoy.
What
Still haven't done it.
Working on it.
Yeah.
Uh, what made you get into chiropractic medicine in the first place?
It's
Talk
a
to me
it's a
about that.
very good question. So again, getting into kind of fear motivation, at the age of 12, I had this fear that I was not going to make any money and I was going to be homeless. And I remember always telling myself, well, at the end of the day, you could work at Tim Hortons. You'll still and I don't know where this came from, Anne. It just is a bizarre fear that came up. So I
Hmm.
said I'm going to be a doctor or a lawyer because, at that
Safe,
yeah,
right?
it's safe. Like it's a good career. It's a good profession. I didn't go to accountant because already I knew that would be boring. So
Okay.
yeah. um, and then when I was in chiropractic college, not to make this story way too long, I was applying for law school. I was taking my LSATs and I was living in a house, and this was the 90s, late 90s, actually 2000s. Anyways, my roommates were smoking and I was constantly getting bronchitis. I went
No
to a
way, really?
chiropractor and he adjusted me. And it was like the first time I'd ever taken a breath. Honestly, I just was absolutely astounded. And then other things felt better. Like I was getting these headaches and I felt so much better that I said, well, can I volunteer at your clinic to start to learn what you do? And so the same year that I applied for law school, I applied for chiropractic college. And then when I got into all the schools, I was shocked that I got into CMCC. It just was such a last minute like Hail Mary. I was also
Hmm.
late for my interview because Bo didn't know where he was driving. And I got in and it was here. It was like, this is what I'm meant to do. So,
Hmm. I love that so much. And then you came to Vancouver several years ago. Vancouver is now your home, but you love to travel.
yes.
You do a lot of different events with brands, and then just do travel on your own. Tell me about just that experience and what it's been like for you being able to kind of combine your love for movement, love for people, and then if there's the opportunity, help people in a medical sense. What has that been like?
It's interesting because before I even kind of had heard the word manifestation or, that this is a very big thing right now that we're talking about, but when I had very young children, it almost seemed impossible to think that I could somehow travel for work.
Mm,
And I just kept visualizing it. And how does that look? And so it started early on for me that I was the anatomy teacher on yoga teacher training. So I think the first one I was asked to do was in Vancouver,
mm,
but that was the doorway for me to go to Nicaragua and to go to Bali and to go to south of France and then having the confidence to start leading these retreats on my own. So I created it.
mm,
I wanted it so badly that I created it. And I think that's what manifestation is. It's having an idea and feeling it in your body. And then you start unconsciously making moves that leads to that happening.
talk to me about your process of manifestation and what that looks like.
My process right now is it's changed. I was doing a lot of Joe Dispenza meditations, and I think you have to find what's right for you.
Mm,
And what is right for me is to constantly be aware of the blocks. So I am very good at being hard on myself and having very limited ideas of what I can do. That's my ego. Um, so I'm really closing my eyes and feeling what it feels like for X, Y, and Z for what I want to
mm,
do. And just coming back to again that it is a any limitation I have, I've created. It's not easy. My favorite expression as a friend's always said to me about many things is it's simple, but it's not easy. And that is the most understated statement. It's like, just say your heart gets broken. Oh, well, just get over him, like, or just get over her. Or, you know, there's definitely going to be another one. You're never going to feel this bad in a week or 2 weeks, but, start moving on now. It's like, it's simple, but that's not easy.
mm,
Things really stick in our bodies. And we have these really deep rooted ideas that came from early on in childhood of what we're allowed to have or what we're capable of doing. So you're not just working with like, me in my 40s and like thinking that this is a new idea of a limitation I've created. I could have created it at the age of 3, you
mm.
know? So I think it's this deep awareness of where you're blocking yourself. And that's also helped what has also helped me is journaling and seeing it. I know you journal a lot too.
I do. I use the 5-minute journal every day.
I love that journal.
It's a great opportunity for me to just take a little bit of time for myself in the morning. It can literally, only be 5 minutes, and it makes a huge difference. And I think when you wake up in the morning and, the first thing that you think about are the, 3 little things that you're grateful for,
Exactly.
it makes a huge difference.
That
And
journal is brilliant because for those of you listening that maybe haven't seen it, it's the 5-minute journal and it's got is it 5-minute gratitude journal?
yeah, so it has, as soon as you open up a page, it's got a quote.
Yes.
You've got the 3 things you're grateful for,
Yeah.
3 things that would make today great, and then a daily affirmation.
Yes, but that is manifestation, right?
There
And
you go.
it's like dispositional gratitude, and then what you're setting up for the day, and then it's like I remember it says like I am, and it's whatever you're saying,
Mhm,
and that is manifestation. So if you want a tool for manifestation, that's a 5-minute tool.
mhm,
You're just
and
setting it up. You're putting it on paper and putting it out there.
yeah, no, and I really love too is, like, it does a highlights option of the day, so you reflect back on the day, either, that day in the evening or, oftentimes I just do it the morning after. Again, 3 things that made the day great, and then what did you learn? That's
Mhm.
that's a great prompt to really ask yourself for growth. You are such a multifaceted woman. I'm just in awe of all the different things that you do. You're a mother, you are a friend, you're a doctor, you're, holding wellness retreats, you teach at turf. How do you manage it all?
It's a dance, and I think I'm getting better, just like learning anything. I'm learning how this dance goes and how
Mm,
many steps I wanna take and, what are my days off. I believe that I've had anxiety, so I've kind of created a too busy schedule because then you don't have to really be in your mind and thinking. So
mm,
I've peeled back and the good problem I have is that everything I do right now, I love.
mm,
So I'm willing to get up at 5:30 or 5 o'clock to go swimming in the morning. But if you get up at 5 and you're done your swim at 7, you have a lot of time. You know what I mean? You've given yourself extra time. So I would say my keys, and this is not going to be a shocker for anybody, is to get up early and to go
mhm,
to bed at a reasonable time because I believe strongly in the power of sleep. And I have to say no to a lot of things that I know now are not serving my purpose or my goal. I think that time is our greatest asset. So if I share it with somebody,
mm,
there's a lot of love infused into that because there's nothing I have that's more valuable than my time, especially when I'm and also everything I do is not in a typical dose. So if I work chiro, for instance, the most I'll work is 4.5 to 5 hours. So I'm not working an 8-hour day. So that's another 3 hours that I
Mm.
have that someone else, that I could be generating more income. But balance for me is I would rather work out for 2 hours than generate that income for 2 hours. And maybe it's a poor decision, or maybe it's the right decision, but my heart says it's the right decision.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, like, if we aren't showing up for ourselves and doing the things that light us up, but also kind of refuel us, how are we expected to show up in our greatest capacity for others, right? So that's really amazing that you are really intentional with your time, which makes sense. And, it sounds like you carve out different moments in your day, whether it is journaling, whether it
Mhm.
is, taking time for an intentional thought.
Doing the Wordle.
I didn't know you did that.
Yeah,
Oh, in the morning,
every day.
every day.
Yeah,
Did you do it today?
I did.
So do you, like, wake up? Tell me about your mornings.
Okay, so if I would say 5 out of 7 days, I'm getting up like the very latest I can, in terms of like to go to swimming. This morning I had tennis at 6:30. So this morning I got up at 5:30, and then I like that time of like laying in bed for 10 minutes and cuddling my dogs, and then
Mm.
setting an intention, or kind of checking in. Then I'll go downstairs and have coffee and do the Wordle, and then I'm usually like, "Oh, I got to go." And then I'll do a workout, and then I'll come home, and hopefully I have about an hour and a half to reset before the next thing, which is today meeting with you, which is so exciting. But you want to be prepared for what you're doing. I wasn't going to come
Mm.
here in what I wore to tennis. So just kind of like looking, I also look ahead the day before and being like, okay, what's on deck for tomorrow, and know kind of like my time zones for everything. This is the time I have to get up. This is how
Mm.
much time I have between tennis and seeing Anne. After this, I get my brother at the airport, and then have lunch and work. And then what's the dinner plan? So I think it is like, you do have to think about the future of the next day, but I also, I'm not like 30 days ahead, like planning my day. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's a
Mhm.
balance of being super present. And then also, I learned in my tennis lesson today is like to be in a recovery position for the next shot. I feel like planning or looking ahead at my next day is being in a recovery position for the next day. Like,
Mm.
this is how long I have to eat and sometimes those things fall off. I haven't eaten yet today, which is fine. I'll survive.
I'll feed you.
Yeah. You got a cute tomato in there.
What's your relationship been like with boundaries over the last couple of years?
Well, I'm glad you said over the last couple of years, because they've been on a steady growth in the last couple of years. But I, from a young age, have been very much a people pleaser and had
Mm.
zero boundaries. So it was just me leaking body, soul, spirit, time, energy, money to everyone around me. And I actually think the universe is always giving us lessons. And my repeat lesson right now is like boundaries, boundaries, boundaries.
Mm.
And it's such a cliche word, but it really is. It couldn't be more important to have boundaries of even what you'll share with people, or certain people, or you like time. Time is such an investment. So how much time are you giving to people? What's the investment on your time? Does that person love you back and reinvest their time back in you? Or do they compensate you for your time?
Mm.
And I especially think, and I think you're ahead of the curve by a long shot on knowing your worth as a woman, but women are conditioned to be nurturers and givers, which really is difficult when you're trying to get paid for your worth. Or whether it's remuneration or acknowledgement, we are a lot of women are willing to accept nothing for what they give. And I've done that for a long time, and it's just like a hard stop now.
Mm.
And I say that, and it's still not a hard stop, but I'm working on it.
What has been the greatest lesson that you've learned about yourself through the integration of movement and strength in your body, in your life?
I keep learning that the only limitation I have in life, and I learn this as evidence through my body, is my mind. And as an athlete, that really the difference between someone for the most part.
Mm,
I don't want to, generalize too much, but that can run 200 miles versus someone who can run 2 miles is this,
mm,
right? Like every body, for the most part, through training, is capable of doing massive feats of physical things. And I've done things in the last 10 years that I never thought I could do,
like what?
ever. I don't know, like swimming 20 kilometers in Australia in a relay. So I swam like 6 kilometers in cold water. I was hypothermic. There were sharks in the water. There was, these things that I wouldn't have even thought I could be capable of doing. And then you do it, and it's like, well, actually, that wasn't that big of a deal. So what's
Mm,
the next thing? Learning tennis in my 40s, and then becoming quite proficient at it. I find an interesting question though is when someone's like, "Are you good at tennis?" I'm like, "Am I good at tennis? I don't know how to answer that. Like, can I play proficiently? Yes. Am I Rafa Nadal? No. Like, good at tennis makes me think of a pro. Like, if what spectrum are you putting me in here?
totally.
But yeah, it's all here. Like anything that you decide, I want to do this. You can do, and that's what I've learned through my body and movement is that
Mm.
the body isn't the limiting factor 99% of the time.
It's the mind.
Yeah.
It's the mind.
Yeah. I want to stop. This feels uncomfortable. I'm tired. I have to work tomorrow. This is always going. It's just what you choose to hear.
So what's next for you? What's something that's in your mind that you think is difficult that you want to go after?
I want to,
Physically, mentally?
oh, yeah. Mentally, I want to get out of my head about opening a new business that I want to open. And I find myself like an ostrich, like with my head in the sand, like not wanting to do the work because I'm afraid of the greatness. So that's mentally, it's the blocks around my business.
Mhm.
Physically, I want to do a longer swim, like something like a 10K swim, but not 10K relay, like 10K solo, definitely ocean, definitely somewhere else in the world.
How do you feel when you're in the water swimming? What is it like? I'm not the greatest swimmer, so that's why I asked.
The favorite swim I've ever done in my life was a 2 mile plus pelagic deep swim where we swam with white tip sharks and pilot whales. And I've never felt more at peace and more safe and more part of a larger piece of the cosmos and universe than that moment.
Hmm. I think I had a similar experience when I was scuba diving in the south of France, and to be underwater to see all of the colorful fish are really, again, puts things into perspective that we are just one tiny little
Yeah.
speck on this earth. And so why not in the moment appreciate everything that we've got?
Yeah.
Um, I love that so much. We're gonna go back to your multifacetedness because I really want to talk about your journey in philanthropy. Uh, Before you and I got to know each other and became friends, and I definitely consider you as someone who's also a mentor to me. Uh, I'd heard about you in the world of philanthropy and just how one, you had dedicated so much of your time, but two, you really are the type of person that will speak out towards things that you truly believe in.
Hmm.
And you'll truly, uh, share your heart in those moments rather than being safe or doing what is the best thing to do. Um, and I really applaud you for that. I would love to dive into, yeah, your journey. Like, how did you get into philanthropy? Uh, yeah.
Philanthropy was an easy step. And I'm grateful because I was introduced to people who were recruiting people for committees, for
Mm,
galas, or different, like BC Cancer was what I started with. And I'm grateful for that because it was a beautiful way to see how to raise funds and then where it goes to. But I didn't ever feel like I was contributing very much or that it was the right thing for me to be raising money for. Obviously, cancer is a great thing to raise money for, but what really honed me into a niche in philanthropy was, what do I care about the most? And it's mental health. And I think that's the base of pyramid for all health. It's the cause of most disease is stress and mental health. And so when I started aligning with my values around mental health, that's when I started having a bigger impact. So then you start working with organizations that are in alignment with your values, and you get better ideas and you contribute more because you're invigorated by it and excited
Mm.
about it. So that's how I got involved with philanthropy. And again, with kind of boundaries and refining time, I feel like I've even gotten better at that, at where am I giving my time? And I absolutely must. It's not even a question that being a person who's healthy and living a safe and privileged lifestyle, there is, if I'm in that position, I absolutely must help someone else who's not. It's not even a question.
What can younger women do to step up to getting into the world of philanthropy? Because I think a lot of people think, oh, I have to have a certain net worth, or I have to have all these accolades to be on boards, or, what have you. And uh, that really stops people from serving at a younger age. The reason I bring this up is because I first had a conversation with a foundation about a year ago that I connected with through you, BC Women's Health Foundation. And they were really surprised at how young I was.
Mm-hmm.
And in my head, I was just thinking, well, there's so much incredible talent and incredible individuals in the city. So what is stopping them? What do you think is stopping them? And how do we get more people into philanthropy, specifically in Vancouver, but also Canada?
Well, you are a very unique individual. I think that you have always kind of thought in a greater and deeper way than a lot of people. I think younger people probably don't even think that they don't even know that these positions are there or that they can help. Like, I think that someone
Mm,
in their early 20s might think, oh, I could help out a soup kitchen, but maybe they don't think that they could be involved in creating events to raise money for the Dr. Peter Center or BC Women's or the Downtown East Side. And there's a lot that can be done, but it might be even access, is it not knowing about it? Because
mm,
I think a lot of the women that end up doing boards and galas is because that's the old tradition of the husband works and donates the money, and then the woman is on the committee and organizes the ball. And I think that model needs to change. I think it's very outdated. I think it's inaccessible by a lot of people, and I don't. Yeah, I mean, the funds are getting to good things, but not everything is going to be ball appropriate. And I think
mhm,
we need to find out how we impact, especially with the downtown east side, especially with women's issues at a younger age. And I think it happens kind of by feminization, or being a feminist too, and in wanting equal pay and creating a voice for women that are, you know, not as privileged as we are.
mm. Talk to me about your journey of mental health. It's something that I think you've been quite
Hmm.
open about for several years. I've heard a little bit of your journey uh, through having your girls, and I'm sure just in your profession, but just also in life, like we all go through things and struggle. There's just people that share about it, and there's just others that do not. So what does that look like for you? What's the journey been like?
I had a very difficult kind of later childhood. My sister died at the age of 5 from cancer, and my mom didn't have support like Connect Place, which is just an incredible gem in this city, to really be supported in grief and losing a child. And it's the worst thing that anyone can think of. And I
Mm,
kind of lost my mom to addiction and to not being able to be a mom at that age. So anxiety started very young for me, for just a chaotic household, and
mm,
and having a parent in addiction. And my dad wasn't around very much because he was trying to make us money. But I didn't, because you start developing anxiety at such a young age, there's no language around it. And you don't understand that you have anxiety. You just kind of assume everybody else has lives the same, that you're constantly worried about something, you can't sleep. It feels like it's just normal, or that's just who
Mm.
you are. And when I had Reese, who's my eldest daughter, it was like the floor got pulled from under me. It was paralyzing anxiety, paralyzing, just unable to eat, sleep, think, do anything. I was absolutely in crisis with anxiety. And that's when I remember walking on a walk one day with my daughter, and my doctor's office was there, but this was 3 months into it. So instead of getting help right away, I was so ashamed that I would have to get mental health help. Like that was so shaming, but it also was the place that I was in that it it was even more shameful, because I think if I was in a good place and I was in a mental health, it doesn't make sense. But do you know what I mean? When you're in
Mm.
a bad place, it's much easier for yourself to shame yourself worse. So that was the beginning of my journey, was going to women's reproductive mental health and having someone unpack that I was experiencing postpartum anxiety, and that I had probably had it my whole life, and still in that journey. Absolutely still in that journey.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I really appreciate many things about you. One of which is, again, your openness and your willingness to talk about difficult conversations and just completely be yourself. Have you always been like that? Have you always been confident in sharing your voice? And it's something, from my perspective, not everyone is like that.
I think I've honed it, especially in the last, I'm going to say 5 years, and maybe a little bit longer. When you start advocating, I find it very easy to advocate for people that are not myself,
Mm.
and it started in the pandemic, and I would see patients who were being vilified because they didn't want to get vaccinated, and some of them were suicidal, and they all had reasons. And I really saw a unraveling of our society and how we are to each other, unraveling of values that we've had of privacy, of, freedom of choice, and really this village, when you come with those fires that, like, like the village going against somebody.
Mm.
And that is not, it is such a departure of how we are supposed to be as human beings. And I know, maybe everyone was doing their best, but I found it was time for me. My daughter had anaphylactic shock, anaphylactic allergy to her vaccine that she took. And I just, and I lost a lot from that. But I always knew in my heart that I was never trying to make a situation more dangerous, but it wasn't right what was happening. So I was able to stand in that. And when I did lose things that were important to me during that, it was a really big lesson in that I'm still okay. And I feel proud of myself. Actually, I'm still okay. And then that's just kind of continued from there. And again, it's just, no, I'm not going to be a people pleaser.
Mm.
I know absolutely who I am and where my heart is, and I never would wish a bad thing on anyone. And I am not a canceller, and I'm not divisive, but I will speak when things are not right. And that's it. I'm in that for the rest of my life. Once you once you decide you're doing that, you can't really go back. And I still lose things, and that's okay. I don't know.
What do you mean? Lose
Um,
things?
well, I definitely, I feel in recent political things that I've tried to be a voice, and a compassionate voice, and some people take it and don't like it, and that's it. And I have to be okay with the fact that when I do share something, when I do say something, no matter how compassionate and inclusive thinking I am, someone might not like it and they might leave, and that's okay. And that's what's been a real growth for me, is it's okay. It's
Mm.
okay. I'm okay not to be liked. That's all right, because I know who I am.
Have you dealt with any or a lot of criticism through speaking your truth?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
So how have you dealt with that?
Better and better. this radical acceptance that, A, I don't have to respond. B, I do need to read it though and listen just in case there's a gem in there that I'm missing. And I have learned a lot from that. Um, I remember, and you learn lessons. I remember speaking about J-Lo because she kept wearing fur coats. And I was like, why are we wearing fur coats? We don't need to wear fur coats. And then someone wrote me, and it's somebody that I love and respect. And she was like, I love you so much and you're always about goodness, but it just feels like you're being a mean girl to J-Lo. And I was like, oh yeah, maybe I am, and so it just kind of like, is her wearing a fur coat important? No. Is me speaking out about people being suicidal over government restrictions? Yes. So kind of being more judicious in opening my mouth about things. But how did I handle it? Crying sometimes, not like being able to eat for a couple of days because someone said something so mean to me. But again, we're talking probably 5 years ago where I've like wielded that muscle, and I no longer kind of take it personally. I am okay if you unfollow me and you decide you don't like me because of how I feel about something. That's okay for me. It doesn't mean I don't like you and how you feel about something. I will respect and applaud and support your right to feel a certain way.
At the end of the day, it's not our business what others think
It
of
is
us.
not our
And
business.
at the end of the day, we're not always going to be liked or
No.
loved by someone. But I think it's this theme that we keep on talking about of being in alignment with who you are and speaking your truth,
Yeah.
right? And I think that oftentimes in life we have to go through difficult moments where there's that opportunity for us to realize, oof, maybe we're not living in our truths.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to make this decision, which is really tough, like ending a friendship, quitting that job, ending a relationship
Yeah.
that may feel safe, but deep down, in your gut that it doesn't feel right because it's not,
Yeah.
the true you.
Yeah, absolutely. And once you get closer and closer to living in full alignment with who you are, you can't go back. Like I can't placate monkey business anymore with people that I don't want to. I just like I am living in such alignment with who I am and how I feel. And the whole thing is I'm not a a-hole, Like if I was saying things because I'm an a-hole, sorry, that's not okay. But I know that I come from a place of love with everything. I know that in my soul. And if people fall off from that, it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can really tell that you always come from a place of love. I've noticed, and you've shared a little bit about, a couple of your really great core friends in your friend group. And it's really special to be able to see, all the different people's lives that you've touched just from coming from a place of love. Have you always had close female friendships, or is that something that's really developed over
Uh,
time?
Absolutely. I have it's like a timeline that I can see is that I had very close best friend and close female relationships up until the age of 12. When I had difficulty with my mom and like through my early 20s, I think I felt in competition with women. I not just I think I was in competition with women. So that probably meant like flirting with someone else's boyfriend or being resentful of their success. And I can say this openly now because I've come full to the other side, and it is a later thing for me.
Really?
Luckily not that late, but I my female friendships are the glue and fabric of my being. Like I feel so honored to have the people like you in my life that I adore and can say anything to. And I also have a lot of people in my life who are a good mirror that don't tell me what I want to hear.
I think that's so important. Again,
I hate
honesty.
it, but it's so important. No, I just kidding.
Well,
Yeah,
oftentimes there's going to be things that come up where we don't always want to hear it, but
a
then
lot of
when
the
we're
time.
ready to hear
Yeah.
it, that's when I think a lot of transformation can occur. What does what does a true friendship mean to you? What does that look like?
Like I said about, I think a true friendship is someone that I could call at, 11 at night and say I'm not okay.
Mm,
It's also someone who will tell me the truth oftentimes when I don't like it. My like very good friends are often feeding me um the hard truth. In It's just made me grow. And it doesn't take me a long time to turn around on it. It's like we'll go for a run and then by the time I'm in my car, I'm like,
hmm.
"Ah, fine." So I think it's also people that you can fully be yourself around, like the jokes that you like to tell, because everyone brings something unique to a friendship. And
Mhm,
when they love what you bring and who you are, it's just home. So
mm.
and it is not how often you talk to somebody. It's the ability to look back in someone's eyes and just know who they are in heart and spirit and catch up at any point.
I love that so much. So tell me what's going on in your life right now? What are you working on? What's next for Genieve Burley?
I have two business partners, and we are opening a business in Vancouver that's going to be very special. It's going
Amazing.
to have to it's going to have to do with wellness. And there's such cliche terms like biohacking and anti-aging. For me, I want to feel good every day that I'm alive. And I don't think you you don't have I want to feel good every day of my life. And I don't think that there's a limitation on that if you're doing the right things. Like, of course, the body is going to change, but there's a lot that we can do to keep it working as efficiently, as comfortably, as pain-free, as juicy as a, younger in age person, if we're eating right, if we're moving right, and if we're kind of tapping into certain things that we're rapidly learning about that we can do to help with the brain,
Mm,
supplementation. So, yeah, we're creating a space that's really going to help with that. And the idea, again, speaking about being a quarterback of health, is that you can come to this space and somebody helps you on your journey.
that's incredible. I'm so excited for it to open. I
Me
know it will
too.
be a success. I know that it will create impact, and I'm super stoked for you. So please let me know more when you know more.
Thank you.
You've told me a little bit
Yeah,
more off air, which I'll honor there. But super stoked for you.
me
Super
too.
stoked for you. Uh, one more thing before we wrap up. Um, I really like to highlight the person that I'm talking to and really make them realize that there is truly no one else like you. And you are a gift. You've taught me so much. And I know that a lot of other people have been impacted by you. So I think my last question is well, I know my last question is what would you say to women my age who are walking the path, trying to figure it out? And how would you, in Geneve's words, affirm them that they're going to be okay or they're going to be going towards the right path?
I What came up immediately is you are her. You are her. You were born to be her, and you were born of the moon, of the stars, of all the same ingredients of the universe, and you were born for no accident. So continually know who you are and keep investigating through movement, through journaling, through conversation, what's important to you, and keep following that. Keep following it. And I truly feel that's important. And I think for women especially is you knowing your worth. And again, I feel that sounds cliche now, but your worthiness of doing whatever you choose to do with greatness.
Mm,
And there is no lesser or better thing to do. There is no lesser or greater thing to do. If you choose to be a kindergarten teacher, the impact that you have on somebody's life that will last their entire life and maybe guide their entire life cannot be disregarded if you choose to clean toilets at a bus station and you make connections with people who are scared of travel or going through big transitions. Again, impact, but you don't limit, like just know that you are her.
You are her. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank
I
you.
adore you. You're incredible. And yeah, I'm so grateful to know you as a friend, and have you in my life. Where can everyone find you?
I think probably Instagram is the
Yeah.
best. I feel, sometimes I feel like, oh God, I'm posting so much, but I'm like, I just feel like I just want to be best friends with everyone and not best, you know what I mean? Like I want to make people smile, and I'm very good at responding and connecting. Like I don't ignore messages. I'm very bad at texting back sometimes though, as a
I
caveat.
am too.
Yeah. So but yeah, I think Instagram is probably the best like first gateway to get in. And then, if someone wants to come for Cairo, easy to book online for that.
Okay, so that's B Cairo. And more information on your physical website.
Yes. Yeah.
GeneveBurley.com, correct?
Correct.
Okay, amazing. Thanks for
Thank
coming
you
on to
for having
Driven.
me. I'm so excited for this podcast and can't wait to listen to all the incredibly inspiring people that you yourself, an inspiring person, will host.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.